What is going on, everybody? Sean Daniel with Guitar Control here. Today is a very, very important lesson / therapy session for all of you people that are struggling on a day-to-day basis with bar chords. Bar chords have foiled many a good man and woman over the years, some quitting guitar altogether because of their difficulty. So we're going to break this into two parts. We're going to have the first section for the meek of you out there and the second session for the strong of you out there, because we're going to first talk about how to avoid bar chords in general, and then after that we're going to talk about just some tips on how to get better at bar chords, because there are probably a lot of songs that you want to play that use bar chords and maybe you're not ready to play them yet, because it does take a little bit of time. Everybody's different. Don't be hard on yourself, for sure. It takes a little bit of time to kind of master them. If you want to click the tab below, I'm going to go through a couple alternate voicings that we can use to get around making bar chords easier until your hands have developed the power, strength, agility, and wisdom to conquer all that stands in your way. All right, so first we're going to start with F major. Really, the two main things that people kind of run into right off the bat are F major and B minor. Maybe a little C sharp minor thrown in there for good measure, but F major is the big one, right? So what you got to do, bar chord wise, the way you'll see it on charts is you got to lace up that first fret with one finger, ring finger 3A, pinky 3D, middle finger 2G, and then somehow get tone from all 6 strings, okay? So we're going to talk about that more in a second, but before that we're going to talk about different ways that we can actually play this getting around it, all right? Now, an F major chord is really just a combination of an F note, an A note, and a C note. For the longest time, I was very ignorant about this, and I didn't know there were all sorts of different types of F major chords literally all over the fretboard. So if really you're having a hard time and you can't get this shape down, do not worry about it, because there's so many different ways we can do it. First of all, we're just going to take the middle 4 strings. All right? Ring finger, 3A, pinky, 3D, middle finger, 2G, pointer finger, 1B. Okay, when I said a F major chord is just an F and A, a C, if we talk about the actual notes that we're fretting here in these middle 4 strings, we have a C note on the A string, an F note on the D string, an A note on the G string, and another C note on the B string. It doesn't matter how many Fs, how many As, how many Cs we have, any combination of those 3 notes are going to give you an F major chord. So, while there is a difference between this and this, it is somewhat negligible in the grand scheme of things, and this is a perfectly musically valid way of doing this. Even if you want to hit the open E string, that actually turns it into what's called an F major 7 chord. Don't even get caught up on the names of these. I just think this actually sounds good most of the time as a replacement for an F major bar chord. The great thing about this is if you see my thumb kind of peeking over the edge right here, it's touching that E string and not letting it vibrate. So I can actually play like a full strum without hearing maybe some of the strings that I'm not going for. So the middle 4 strings is always a great option in skirting that bar chord, cheating it almost. And this is totally movable. So this would be an F major chord, F sharp major, G major, G sharp major, A sharp major, B major. Where does it stop? This is really valuable to learn. In fact, it's also good practice to get ready for this. This is one adjustment. These 3 fingers are going to be in the same location, okay? Which again, maybe you've even seen the shape before as like an E major. Okay? Another way to do it, maybe easier, maybe you only want to use 3 fingers. Maybe you lost 1 finger in a terrible accident. I'm really sorry about that, but you're in luck because you can still make F major chords, any chord you really want to, by doing this right here. Sometimes you'll see an F major chord written in maybe like a chord chart like this, like 3D, 2G, 1B, 1E, which is like, that's supposed to be easier. Now it's even harder just to get these 2 down. Forget about it. No, same thing. Just get these 3 strings. D, G, B. That's all that you need to make a major chord. F major, F sharp, G. Okay, so this is just a replacement. And then if you do want to get nasty and get the top 3 strings, we can get the first fret on the E string, first fret on the B string, second fret on the G string. Work on maybe getting a little mini bar chord going in just the bottom 3 strings. So we're being kind of selective with this first chord. Now maybe you want to start getting your hand used to this position, but we don't want to bar it, because this shape right here that you see is probably the most important shape in all of guitar playing. Because if you root it on the E string, it's a major chord. If you root it on the A string, it's a minor chord. That's why B minor, C sharp minor is the same shape, which is why it's so important and it's so really valuable that you learn this. Let's just get the lowest 4 strings. So 1 E, 3 A, 3 D, 2 G. Don't even worry about the bar chord. You just need the lowest 4 notes to get it. And then when you're ready, we're going to talk about getting the other 2 notes in there, okay? So we've got a couple different alternate ways to do it, which is what's on that tab. We have the middle 4 strings, the highest 3 strings, the D, G, and B string, and the lowest 4 strings. All of those are F major chords, just technically different voicings, but in the same spot, in the exact same location. Another thing that you can do that's even easier is because a lot of, depending on the guitar, depending on the size of your hands, another one of the challenges is that the reach from the 1st fret to the 3rd fret is big. That's kind of like a spacing right there. So maybe we want to play an F major but higher up on the fretboard. Well, right here, the 8th fret on the A string is also an F note. So we can make this F power chord, which is really just 8A, 10D, 10G, and then maybe if we just get those, that's an F power chord, which can always be a replacement for an F major chord. So maybe it can even sound better there. Like, let's say you have something that's like C to G to F, and that's what's giving you a hard time. C to G to F. That sounds pretty cool. Yeah, that sounds fine. Perfectly acceptable replacement. Power chords, always a go-to. You can even use them as minor. That could be F minor replacement. We'll talk more about that in a different video. But different ways of playing the exact same thing. Any way you can combine those notes F, A, C. The great thing about guitar is that shapes are so invaluable, is what you're going to want to start being thoughtful about on the fretboard where those shapes are. But until then, replace those bar chords with some of these different types of shapes, all right? Now that the meek have been served, it's time to get to the champions, those who want to press on and just become better at bar chords, all right? Now, the main thing that I can really stress here is the actual composition of how you're approaching the neck with your hand is huge, all right? So sometimes I'll see a lot of beginners start off where they try to like really jam their hand into this F shape, and then they're pulling their fingers away from their thumb, something like that. And if you're pulling away from your thumb, it is near impossible to get this shape to work, okay? So one thing to be really thoughtful about is where your thumb is in relation to the rest of your fingers. Usually when I play a bar chord, I'm using my thumb and my pointer finger to really pinch, to really drive through on the neck, to power through on those strings, because one of the reasons bar chords are so difficult is because that pesky B string oftentimes will sit directly where there's like a groove in your hand for the knuckle, right? So a couple things we can do about that. You can use the counter pressure of your thumb to push through that piece of, knuckle or whatever, whatever is causing this to not vibrate really well. Another thing that you can do is take your pointer finger and roll it a little bit to the side, because again, if you look at like your finger, the actual indentations are always going to be where that knuckle is. But if you look at the side of it, the side is like a smoother edge. So the more you kind of get to the side, the smoother that edge will be to hold down all the strings, okay? So if you just work on maybe rolling it a little bit back, but keeping your thumb to pressure through the fretboard, it's going to open up your hand in a way where reaching the other strings or the other frets will be a little bit less of a problem. Again, it's not going to be easy for everybody, but it'll be a little bit less of a problem. It's something to start being thoughtful about. Same thing with like a B minor. It's the exact same shape, just in a different spot, okay? So use the counter pressure of your thumb. Your thumb, this is what separates us from the animals, people. Use it, put it to good use. This is what's going on right here. This is, again, the most important shape in all of guitar is this right here. So we want to get these bar chords down. Again, I think it's a great idea to maybe start with this little kind of half measure bar chord. You can even see My thumb, even though it's not providing counter pressure like it is for a full bar chord, it's still somewhat in line here, okay? You don't want to be pulling away from it. Again, I see a lot of people do this where their thumb is out and their fingers are trying to just jam in from like a really uncomfortable thing, because that's going to bring your arm out, that's going to mess with your posture, it's just going to be a total mess, and then you're going to have health issues, and that's not what we want, okay? Even though I know that you're not the meek have already left now, the champions have stayed for this part. Let's go a little bit easy on your body. You know, you just get one of them in this life. So, use some of these tips to power through these bar chords, and remember to check them one string at a time to make sure you're getting tone. If it sounds like this, then maybe you have to concentrate some of that pressure with your thumb on the back through the neck. Just kind of think of it like a x-ray, just like bulleting through and boom. Really get that B string however you want, because the nature of the fretted notes that aren't barred, you know, there's usually a little bit of compromises you can make. You know, if I need to kind of adjust my hand, these will still be, the fingertips here are always going to power down through and kind of give them the support they need. It's almost always the B string that screws everything up. So really show the B string who's boss, power through, pinch it like a true champion. These bar chords will not be an issue. But in the meantime, definitely do not shy away from songs that have bar chords in them, because you can always take those little pieces, like I said, you know, just maybe either a power chord, the center 4, the top 3, because it will get easier. But even then, you know, I'll play a 3-hour gig or something like that, and most of the time when I do it's on acoustic guitar. By that 3rd hour, it's like, gosh, I do not want to play bar chords anymore, so I'll even kind of just move to this open type shape. It's not cheating. It's not cheating. I'm no less a man because I do that. So you too can have that same power and that same professionalism that I exude in copious amounts. So hopefully you got some tips that maybe you can use and some tricks. If not, I hope you at least had a good time. Definitely leave in the comment section what you thought about this video, some feedback on maybe some other pro tips that you'd like to see. And definitely don't forget to click around on these other videos from myself, other fantastic guitar control instructors. Basically every facet of guitar, we've got you covered. And if you still have not found anything you're specifically looking for, let us know, and I will personally see to it that your needs are met. So thank you very much, and I'll talk to you all soon. Thanks a lot.